I want to tell you a creepy story that happened in 1981. My wife and I had been dreaming of our own dacha for many years. And finally, as soon as we had enough money saved up, we started looking for a suitable plot. Our attention was attracted by one plot in the area of peat bogs. The price was not high. Perhaps because both the house and the plot itself were very neglected. But we were not afraid of difficulties. In June, my wife and I took a vacation and settled down at the dacha. We began to organize the household, and the question of where to store food arose. There was no refrigerator, so we had to invent something like a refrigerated pit. In the far corner of the grounds, I noticed an abandoned cellar. It was a grassy mound, with a small metal door at its base. It turned out not to be easy to open. Two rusty deadbolts had huge locks hanging from them. Even then, such precautions had seemed strange to me. With the help of locksmith tools, I finally managed to open the cellar. It was a century-old concrete bunker, with a hole about a yard in the center, covered by a sheet of metal. It smelled cold. I threw a rock down, but I didn't hear it hit the bottom. I thought there was sand or sawdust at the bottom. My wife and I decided to put the food in a bucket and lower it by rope into a hole in the floor where it was coldest. That same day, I built a lifting mechanism so that my wife could get the food out without much effort. The next morning my wife went to the cellar to get butter and eggs for breakfast. She came back pale. She told me to see for myself. I went to the bunker, looked in the bucket. Instead of food there were shriveled and dried up clumps of food, as if they had been there for years instead of just one night. What the hell is this? I didn't have a flashlight, so I decided to lower down the kerosene lamp. Strangely enough, even a long rope was not enough to reach the bottom. And the concrete walls went further and further down. When I lifted the lamp back up, I didn't recognize it. It was covered in rust. The new capron rope seemed to have deteriorated too, wet and weathered. Thomas, the owner of the neighboring house, came to visit us. When he saw that we had opened the cellar, he asked us to show him. He said he had wanted to know what was inside since he was a child. According to his father, the cellar existed long before he was born. Long before they started allocating land for summer houses. The locals considered the cellar a bad place, so they put locks on it. Those who lived here before us never even tried to look in there. I told Thomas about our experiments with food in the kerosene lamp. But he just laughed back. Our vacation is over and we are back in the city. The next weekend we decided to come to the dacha again. But the police were waiting for us there. It turned out that in our absence Thomas had invited his buddies to visit and showed them the cellar. In the end, the drunken men decided to go downstairs. They thought they'd find the treasure. They tied the skinniest of them to a rope and started to lower him down. After about 10 seconds, the guy stopped reacting, and they pulled him to the surface. But instead of a living man, there was a skeleton in tattered clothes hanging from the rope. So they ran to the police. The police officers didn't believe the story. The skeleton looked to be several decades old. One of them tried to climb down into the well, but didn't last 5 seconds. He got sick. When he climbed out, everyone was stunned. Instead of a 25-year-old man, there was an old man standing in front of them. Anyway, after this story, the state bought our plot and all the neighboring ones. We were told to keep silent about what we had seen and heard. The plot was cordoned off with a fence and guards, and we don't know anything about that cellar anymore, and don't want to know.